All right, good morning from the shop. What we're working on today is a plywood carcass. This is going to be for a media cabinet. And although these are going to be stained and be underneath my shuffleboard table, I wanted to try something new, which was a 45-degree joint that I cut on my track saw. These looked okay. I'm glad I practiced it because there's definitely some room for improvement on this edge. But to add strength, I'm going to put splines in this joint. And there's a lot of YouTube videos about taking the workpiece to the router table. Obviously, I couldn't do that with how big these carcasses are. So we're gonna make a jig and go to the workpiece. I'm not the inventor of this. I saw it on Instagram a while ago, but I thought it was pretty cool. And I just put this together just kind of show you what it is. It's basically scrap plywood that has 45-degree joints cut on it, and then what you do is you just hold it in place and you run your router right down through the piece. It's really easy to see your alignment. I don't know if you can catch it on the camera, but right there I'm right on my line for it. I'm going to show you how it works here in a second. The only thing I would do differently, and like I said, it took me a minute to put this together so I could build another one, is I put my pieces on the outside here. I think I'd move them in this way so that way the jig can go totally to the edge, because right now if I tried to do an edge joint, I'm going to be off the piece. So just a little tip that I learned, and obviously one thing I almost did on accident, don't cut the groove all the way through the piece because then it's going to split your jig in half. So let me get the camera set up and I'll show you how it works. And I forgot to mention the bit that I'm using is just a Yanaco 1/4-inch straight carbide bit that I get off of eBay. So let's check it out. I've got tick marks here every 3 1/4 inches. All right, so as you can see, I made an error, and hopefully this will prevent you from doing it. So what I did was I knew over on this side that I could just set my jig up and go right to the corner, right? Well, what I didn't take into account is that everything is measured right to left. So when I went to go do that over here, that doesn't match up with the other side, and the reason is that my jig is not completely square. So looks like in making it in a rush I didn't take that into account, but no big deal. The bottom line is this can be the bottom corner and no one's ever gonna see it. This was more kind of a proof of concept, and I'm glad I made those mistakes, hopefully passing them on to you to where you don't make them. And let's get some splines put in there and see what it looks like. So what I'm showing you here is I clearly marked where the back of the router is supposed to go and where the edge is relating to my jig being offset. So this way, as long as I'm paying attention to the setup, I can make a symmetrical joint on either side of the carcass. And this will work for now. I don't think I'm going to rebuild this jig. I'm just going to keep it the way it is and just be mindful of this when I'm setting everything up. All right, one thing that seems to be helping is that I've been putting way more glue in there than I think you need, and then I'm getting a lot of squeeze out, and I have the sawdust from the router up here, and then I just take it and I cover it in first, and then I flattened out an acid brush tip. And what I'm doing is I'm just taking a second to push that corner in, and it seems like it's getting a way better result. So basically I'm just trying to make sure that if possible I can fill this gap now, and then when I cut it with the flush saw, you know, I won't have to do any more follow-up after that. All right, the splines are all glued up, dried, and sanded down. If I didn't mention it earlier, these are elm splines that we put in there. And overall, I'm gonna say I think it looks pretty good. I only got 3 of them done here. You can see these other 2 are in place. One thing I did end up doing is I left them pretty proud when I cut them off, and that way I wasn't getting into the veneer on this thin plywood. This plywood's pretty inexpensive, big box store stuff. This is more, like I said, a proof of concept, and I think I'll be using some different materials. This joint definitely could use a little improvement. I got a better plan to do that, but as far as just getting this jig done and proving that it works, I'm gonna call it a pretty good success. So I hope you liked the video. If you're not subscribed, do so if you like what I do, and hope you have a good night. See ya.